Ladies and gentlemen, listeners, lovers, and friends, I welcome you back to the podcast. I am Jim Fogarty, your host today, coming at you from Two Ticks and the Dog, my main man on the microphone, Brandon Giovanni, MDI Studios. We are both on Dave Grohl Alley.
What's up, Jim? 3 seasons ago, basically, we had our last broadcast, it feels like.
I'm trying to shake the rust off. I'm like a fighter that's trying to get the rust off him. You know, it was a little
If anybody
clunky.
thought we were done,
Well,
you lied.
I was telling our guest as we were riding up the elevator today, my co-conspirator was like, I want to tell the prodders out there.
Okay.
He was ready to drop episodes 25 and 26. Was like, hey, you just want to scratch it and call it a season? And I said, no way, man.
Right.
We're going to finish 26, and then we talked about doing a Christmas special. So,
Well, let's be fair here. I was excited to start season 2, so don't just be like...
you were. Well, we're not ready with it
But
yet.
you know, we
We're
had
not
a
ready
goal.
yet.
You taught me something. You finish your goals. And the goal was 26, so today's 25.
Little bro's learning lessons.
Absolutely. You got to do what you got to do.
He's learning lessons. Speaking of learning lessons, I learned some lessons over at Modern Methods the other day, which is also on Dave Grohl Alley.
Absolutely.
And
it's the only official place on Dave Grohl Alley as an address.
That's actually true. That's right. Adam Keck, the owner, wanted the address, and I guess it'd have to be. He's the only mailing address on Dave Grohl Alley. But I learned something the other day. They're now selling 6-packs and cans.
Oh, that's what's up. Oh. Really?
Bro.
12-ounce cans?
I think there's 16-ounce cans.
Oh, tall boys.
They're pints.
Big gulp, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's nice to travel. And you can buy, I don't know if they're 6s or 4s. I think they're 4s, actually.
Okay.
And because I think they're $10. I don't want to misrepresent. Sorry, Adam, if I'm fucking giving the farm away over here. Oh, I dropped an F-bomb. Sorry, Mom. See, I came back. I'm clunky. I'm trying to get it working out together here. I wanted to have some Modern Methods to offer our guest, but I got the chance to interview him the other day for another project. And because he was going to be in town for the next few days before he hits the road again, I wanted to get him in, and I'm so grateful that he came. I was like, man, I'm going to get some beers, and we can have some beers. But I remembered he's got a little bit of a, like, can you have like a little of a beer allergy?
Okay.
But I did bring him some beer that he knew. He was like, he smelled it, and he was like, oh, man, I think this will be okay. So we'll have to, when you return, when our guest returns from the road successfully, we'll have to schedule a date to go over to Modern Methods.
Okay.
And he could sample the flight.
Okay.
And then he can discover if which ones are gonna not sit well with him and which ones are gonna be.
It's like an allergy test when you go there. We'll just poke little dots, and then if you get a big blister, we'll just know to finish that beer still. You don't want to waste that beer, but don't ever have that beer again.
Remember that when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah.
Did you go to the doctor and get the? I got. the pins in your back and shoulders.
Oh, yeah. They give you the positive and the negative. And you're like, well, now I have an itchy spot for no reason. And then you go through. I learned that I had a mild dust and grass allergy. How about yourself, Jim?
They did those little tests or whatever. My doctor was Dr. Vlad.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Vlad?
Dr. Vlad. Third generation over here. Let's go to Dr. Vlad.
Yeah, Dr. Vlad did the test, and I can remember my good friend Steve Zolchek was out in the waiting room, and they said, hey, Jimmy's here? Oh, yeah, he's in the back getting all these needles in his back. And he was like, afterwards, he was like, thought like, man, dude, this dude must have some like real stamina, because I came out, I wasn't crying or nothing, because you just get like a little prick or whatever, but he was like, how was it? His eyes were real big. I was like, I don't know, I got like all these needles. And I was like 90% allergic to whatever,
right?
Whatever they were sticking in my body. I was allergic to it. Speaking about growing up in Warren, today's guest is a fellow Warrenite. Grew up on the west side.
Is the best side.
Oh, somebody said that to me today on Facebook, man. We were talking about it earlier. I got into let me say this. I just want to say this real quick. Let me get this out there, okay? Not to this person particularly, but to anybody that lives in a city one way or the other and segregates it by sides. This is the same thing in the political climate. We talked about it before. You're on this side or that side. Oh, he's on that side of the fence or this side of the tracks or he's that color, I'm this color. Crips, Bloods, Republicans, Democrats, okay? Gays, straight, whatever side you're on, west side, east side, you're the Jets and Sharks. That shit it's funny in a rivalry when you're doing sports or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But it doesn't make you any less of an American.
Right.
it doesn't make you any less of a human being.
Oh, yeah.
And certainly in this instance today, we just had an election yesterday. I wasn't even defending the person who won. I don't like people really talking shit about my hometown. And this guy was kind of down in the hometown. He still lives here. And I just said, hey, man, things aren't that bad. And we actually talked about, I mentioned some of the stuff that was happening down here. Not only that, but the involvement and yada, yada. I'm falling into defending myself. But my point is, he was like, oh, you're on the east side. That ain't real Warren. You went to Catholic school. You didn't go to you're not real Warren. And my response was, among other things, for 23 years, I voted here. Right. I built my business here. My tax is here. And I've given back. Where have you been? You've been sitting on the couch. His answer was, well, I decorate my house for Christmas, and I do leaves and landscaping. And I wanted to respond, that's like taking credit for wiping your ass after you go to the bathroom. Like, that's not... Those are
my kids.
Yeah, those are basic things.
And the problem is when you start dividing it up, east side and west side type deal, you can't just look at it as like, oh, that's not the real side because they have more money. Because myself, I did grow up on the east side of Warren as well. And for the Prouders out there, the west side, I guess, didn't have as much money as the east side, blah, blah, blah. But I came from a family of, there were 7 of us, 5 kids, 2 of us. Now, what people don't see is I was the broke east side person going to schools with people. And I remember the 4th grade teacher one time said, let's take a look at your writing skills and stuff. Write down 1 page of what you did this summer on vacation and shit. And then we had to stand up and say it. So, this girl's talking about how they went to Greece. This person talking about Florida and Disneyland. I stood up and I said, Brandon Giovanni's summer. Well, I went to Geauga Lake twice. Not just once, but twice.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, so even if you're on the east side, you don't know that kind of shit. But you know what? At the end of the day, one thing I like about this area is that, west side, east side, at the end of the day, we're Warren.
That's it, man.
And you take that negative stuff that you were talking about, this place has pride. You have pride, and you can express it in so many different ways with writing, with wanting to be better as an entrepreneur or build a business, and
or just getting involved, man. Just giving your time. Here's my thing: you're either putting up or you're shutting up. Mm-hmm. Like if you're on the couch, stay on the couch.
Right,
dude. Today, I can't remember his name. Whatever. Keep putting your Christmas decorations on, right? And that's cool,
right?
But put up or shut up.
But you know what? Our guest today, from what I've read, uses that as inspiration.
100%. And they should. They should. Yeah, Warren is fun. The struggle is real wherever. Right. If you have money, those people that have money, I didn't grow up with a lot of money either, but the struggle was real. And the struggle is still real. And artists struggle. You're jumping in. We rolled on you. The struggle is real. And today we're going to talk about a little bit about the struggle. But really about the success
and the expression from the struggle.
Yes, and particularly our guest again. This is the longest build-up ever, but fellow Warrenite, fellow artist, fellow entrepreneur, and just all-around good guy. Welcome to the podcast, the 25th episode. Jimmy Massacci, artist extraordinaire. What's happening today, man, after this long build-up?
You ready to get electrified? Because it's time to get electrified.
Yeah, am I on the hot seat?
You're on the hot seat now.
No, it's good to be here. I'm just listening to you guys go back and forth. For a while, I forgot we were on, and I'm like, I'm jumping in like we're just in the garage talking shit, you know what I mean? And then I'm like, oh, no, I can't just do that, right?
You can talk shit.
You should have. You should have just jumped in.
Oh, yeah.
When you said you're like, I don't remember the guy's name. I'm like, I think it was Armchair Quarterback. Right. But I didn't want to break up your story, but it fit at that moment.
No, it was great. It was great. So, Jimmy Vegas, I know that was just a Facebook handle and a name, and I got to interview a lot of guys. The other day, I've known Jim for, I don't even know, quite a bit of years, probably 10 years, I think we met. I've talked to the Horseshoe a couple times and to other places, et cetera. We've talked about getting together and working on some stuff. And the other day, I was so blessed and honored. I thank you. Jim hired me to come in and work on a project with him. And a filmmaker from Queens, New York, Shaw Tussle, and they're working on a documentary project about Jim and his art. And I got to interview guys that I knew too, but a lot of guys that I didn't, and people that I met, and some of Jim's family. And we were talking afterwards, And his nickname became, when he moved from Warren, he went to Florida. His nickname kind of became, went to Vegas,
Yeah.
and then moved to Florida. And then when he got back, they started calling you Jimmy Vegas.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Which, here's a side note. There's so many similarities between you and mine's upbringing in terms of when we talked about that.
Oh, yeah.
My good friend and a guy that you know, Eric Murphy, we went to Vegas together twice just for, shits and giggles and bachelor parties and stuff. And he would clown on me. Because I was walking around Vegas, I had the shades on in the casino and all that shit. And he's like, dude, this is like your spot. You're like Jimmy Vegas. And then years later, I'm like, oh, who's this Jimmy Vegas I keep seeing? And it was Massacci. I was like, oh, that's cool as shit.
Yeah, it was my moniker.
But you were saying, your buddies who were growing up, they kind of use that name to kind of clown on you a little bit. And those are your true friends.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when I went to Florida, everybody was like, yo, man, what's your name? And I'm like, Jimmy. They're like, well, where are you from? I'm like, Vegas. Because I just moved there from Vegas.
Yeah.
So they were just like, yo, Jimmy Vegas when I'd see him out. I'm like, damn, man, don't call me that, bro. But then it grew on me. I'm like, whatever. You know what I mean? I could be like Skillet or some other weird fucking
Booger.
Yeah. It was,
hey, Booger. Oh, you want shit on Fogs? Come on, man. Well, it's funny because it's Fogs, but when I was little, it was Fogs because it's Fogarty, not Fogarty.
Right.
And so the dudes, my guys I went to grade school with at St. James would say, hey, Fogs. And actually, I think the first guy I'd ever say it was a buddy of mine named Jason Vallon, who's now a big cancer doctor at the Cleveland Clinic. He's really
nice.
Yeah. But then those are still, it was cool to see, again, those similarities. Those are my dudes.
Right.
Your dudes came in. I got to I knew all those guys.
Yeah.
And I knew you, but I didn't know you guys all together.
Right, right.
I mean, a little bit just from peripheral, but it was cool just hearing about the mud balls and the mischief. Explain the mud balls because people won't even know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah, so we just really didn't have that much because we were on the west side. And so we had mud. And we would, the mail trucks would come by and we would just have a ammo pile full of them. And we would just dart the mail trucks and shit. Well, it would stick to them and it would just be hilarious. As a 10-year-old, really? I'm sticking a mud ball to a mail truck, but they circled back, and I had to wash a bunch of those trucks. My cousins didn't, but I did. For some reason, I don't remember how they got out of that, but
well, maybe they were faster than you, and they just ran faster.
Maybe.
McAllister was saying he was hiding behind the truck one time, and somebody was lighting you up. They caught you doing something.
No, the real story is he threw a mud ball at this guy walking down the street and knocked his hat off. It caught it just right where it just sucked the guy's hat right off his head. And he jumped behind a tree, and I was standing there in amazement that he had knocked his hat off. And then he was like, you son of a bitch, you punk. And he told my mom, and I'm like, but it wasn't me. But I didn't rat, so it was all good.
See, that's a true Warnut right there.
That's it.
I didn't rat. That's a true Italian.
Oh, yeah.
Omerta. They don't talk about Omerta when they make these mob movies, man, but that's silence. Keep your mouth shut.
The Jehovah Witness hit me up at one of the local cafeterias here, cafes, and it was 2 weeks ago. And she handed me a card and said, I think you'd enjoy this. And I said, well, are you a Jehovah Witness? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, Italians don't like Jehovah Witness. And she said, why? And I said, well, because Italians don't like any witness. And even they had to laugh. I mean, come on, that's solid.
I like it.
The other day, I'm asking you these questions, and then I stopped by. Jim's got a real cool studio. We're going to dive in and talk hardcore about his art because he's really got some stuff that's real provocative and mischievous. He's got a website called Hypocrisy Art, which he just told me about because he also has MassacciArt.com. But he got Hypocrisy Art because it was easier to find or easier to Google, which makes a lot of sense.
Right.
A little bit of a marketing guru over here, too. We do marketing, so that's a good plug-in for our stuff. But there's a little bit of it's a perfect name. I just learned about this name today. It's a perfect name because a lot of his art is pointing out hypocrisies in our society.
Oh, yeah.
And it's real cool. But I was asking him, I got the pleasure to go to his place as a follow-up, and he was starting a new piece. And I hope you brought a picture of that because that would be super dope or whatever. We'll figure that out. But I asked him a question, and I said, we were going through a list of different things. Like, if you're an animal, how do you see? Eagle or lion or whatever. And I said, money or fame? And you said...
Oh, I'd much rather take fame, because when you're famous, it gives you a platform to be able to be influential or speak for people who are really, don't really have that much of a voice. I mean, I'm all about personal responsibility for sure, but there are a lot of people and things that fall through the cracks. And if you have a celebrity type platform and status, you could really start to live by example, lead by example. Maybe the celebrities wouldn't be so, maybe they would do more,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that was it was interesting to me because for my you really kind of you pivoted my thinking a little bit. Because for the longest time, we're small fish in a small pond, so it's easy, and there's not a lot of people that do, what we do.
Right.
Not a lot of artists, number one. We're all artists in here, but especially like media, Brandon's in websites and video, and I do video and production. Those are that's not a hot commodity here in the Midwest. And so it makes you stand out a little bit. And so I'll go places and people will be like, hey, what's up, blah, blah. I always explain to people, I'm really an introvert, even though it seems like I'm an extrovert. I'm a self-contained unit, and so I would say if anyone asked me that in the past, I don't want to be famous. I want to have money because money buys me free time and stuff that I can do. But when you said that, I was like, oh, it made me explore my own thoughts and motivations. Like, there is something maybe to be famous because then people listen and you have a platform and you can obviously wield that however you want. Sometimes, unfortunately, even though this guy wasn't famous, the Cleveland Browns' worst season ever, disappointing. But they got rid of that Whitfield or Whitefield or whatever his name was because he was using his platform and threatening people. But, this fucking guy. But
you got to hold yourself to a standard.
You have to hold yourself to a standard, and you can use that fame for whatever you want. So that was a really interesting commentary, man.
That is a good twist because being famous or anything or having a platform, it comes
because you could be famous and broke.
Right, absolutely. Comes in many different shapes and forms. And like what Jimmy said, I do video work and I do video work at stadiums that a lot of people see my work. They've over the past 7 years, they've grown to know who I am. And yeah, I'd be foolish to say I don't like that feeling of knowing who I am. But one of the best feelings I get from it is when the kids, the students, see who I am. It keeps me at a higher standard when I'm around them or not around them. And I love going back and saying, you can do this as well. You can have a platform. And I help them or if they need any type of mentoring or anything like that. That's the biggest thing I love about being involved with having a name out there is it's cool. Brandon Giovanni does the video board stuff, but it's also Brandon Giovanni comes in and, helps a senior get on the right path or pick a place. That's what feels awesome.
That's good. That's the juice, right? Yeah. What's your juice, man? I wasn't going to get this question until later, but what do you want your work to do? Because it'll be hard to sit here and talk about your work because no one can really see it.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, obviously, we'll go to send links and stuff, but what do you want your work to do?
I want my work to make people question what they truly think about something. Because you can kind of surface think whatever you want about something because you're not necessarily forced to choose a side. But I think when you stand and you look at art, the only thing you have to do is bounce it against your own mirror inside. Okay, how do I feel about that? Does it piss me off? Do I hate it because it's truthful? Do I hate it because he's talking about me? Or do I love it because he's talking about my ex? Or whatever. If my art doesn't spark any change or create anyone to say, man, maybe we should really look at some of this stuff different, then I probably wouldn't even want to do it.
Well, and let me interject for the audience too. Jim's art is these are my words, I'm going to describe it. Sure. It's very raw. There's a real authenticity to it. He has pieces, and if you go, we'll post some stuff on Facebook, but he's doing a piece, a collaboration piece with Kate Scott. It's a beautiful picture of John Legend's wife. I forget her name.
Chrissy Teigen, and their
child. And so it's a real kind of emotive, what I would say a softer piece. And then you go to another spectrum side of it, and a lot of it is just like it's a canvas with a phrase on it.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe like a phrase scratched out, and it's posing a question or it's making a statement. And I know this is because I loved this piece. I saw it on your thing. You actually said it when we were talking the other night, but I saw it there, and it reminded me. And people would say, "Well, dude," and all artists go through this, right? No matter how great they are, you know, because there's a particular thing out there like finishing, right? And I asked you about this. You don't really want a fine finish on it, you know? Like
Sometimes I don't know.
Sometimes you don't, because it's more authentic and raw, because it's a social commentary thing or whatever. And so I'm losing my train of thought. I never admit that on air. I'm losing my train of thought. Where's this guy going? You're bringing out like ironies of life, and they evoke certain emotions and ask certain questions to get people talking. It's like pop. It's like contemporary pop. I almost called it contemporary because you have like a lot of religious motifs where you're interjecting, because he's repurposing some pieces too, where it's like you'll get a piece and it's like the Virgin Mary, and there'll be like a cell phone in her hand, and she's watching TV, and it's like selling shampoo. I'm making this up. That's not one of your pieces, but they're making statements. Versus just like, oh, there's a piece and it's a beautiful landscape or whatnot. These are kind of contemporary. I would call it contemporary pop, but that's not even the right term.
Probably. I mean, well, I don't know what else to call it.
It's very emotional. I'm looking at all your work now.
Thanks, man.
He's doing his homework in class.
Are you on the gram?
You know what? Like, what you were saying is like what you say on here is there's many ways that you could take it. I'm trying to look for the prouders out there. Where was that piece at that I like this one? No one is impressed with your hashtag loyalty. Like, and it's just a white canvas with that put on there with the red and the hashtag. And I'm thinking of this like in 5 different ways, man. And this is what his art's all about, guys out there. You know, like,
yeah, it's real.
It's brainy. Like, you got to think about this stuff. Like,
nice.
you're looking into this stuff. And, I like your work, man. This is good stuff. I don't know what else to say, but like, what was your inspiration behind that piece right there? Like, what was your thinking?
What, hashtag loyalty? Mm-hmm. Because like, when you go on like people's Facebook and stuff, everyone's like all hashtag ride or die, BFF, all this and that. But like, as soon as something small happens and you need your friends, nobody's really there. I mean, a couple people will be there, you know. And then so I'm always like, oh, everybody's such good friends on Facebook and Instagram, but they're not really, so no one's really impressed with it. Like, you could say whatever you want, but where are you at?
You said you're a rager the other day, man.
I said sometimes I rage, if I want to turn up,
which was awesome. I went to this marketing conference last year. This guy in Youngstown, Dennis Schiraldi. What's up, Dennis? He's got this Duyo. You'd actually like it, Brandon, a lot. He's got this Duyo marketing conference. I didn't make it this year because I had different stuff going on. But he had a speaker there who analyzed all this data and interviewed all these types of like outliers and trendsetters and successful artists and entrepreneurs and artists in all mediums. Some were writers, some were filmmakers, some were fine art, some were whatever it was. And he discovered that there were 2 things that they all had in common. 90% of them that he interviewed, and he interviewed like 30 or 40 different, like real, I don't remember the names of people. They're all real famous and real, you know. And 90% of them had these 2 things in common. They consumed a ton of media, whether it was movies or music or they read, and they either came from super tight nuclear families or they came from a single parent home, and that single parent home oftentimes drove them to success, but it was success through their escapism, through their art. And we talked about that. Jimmy and I both, I think, were in that same category, not, you know, like single parent home, et cetera, et cetera. Like, did you ever feel like your antics as a kid? This is like, I'm psychoanalyzing. Dr. Phil's up in this bitch now.
Tell me, Clarice.
Did you ever feel like as a kid your antics were spurred by that? And then as an adult, that form of escapism, that form of therapy was a release of an emotion, whether it be anger or whatever. Because your work is so thought-provoking and you have like really thought-provoking statements, and it's really raw. Like, is that where that comes? I'm curious. Like, is that where that comes from? Do you think? I mean, you ever?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the polar opposites, like having a really tight family and having like a very broken family, the two spectrums, I guess, would send you to that, because it seems like if your family was really good and you had a good support group, it would be easier to get there because everyone's believing in you. Mm-hmm. And at the same token, it's easier to get there when no one believes in you. If you got the drive and like the ambition and you're built for that. Excuse me. Got some weird cough when I was on a plane.
It's the Evian flu or whatever.
That didn't sound like a regular cough. That was a weird one.
Probably a bong rip or something. I don't know if I can say that, but I just said it.
You could say it.
All right. So, but yeah, I think that polar opposite definitely works that way. I know for me, I didn't really care for my reality when I was young. I didn't like it. I didn't receive the broken family unit well. You know, like my mom was like trying to hold it together. But I knew that it was so difficult that it was like, it was almost out of resentment. It had to be held together. You know what I mean? Type thing. So, so I lived in another place in my mind. I was always somewhere else. I was never in the immediate.
Well, and that's what a lot of the people that interviewed said. You know, you were always out skateboarding, doing things, and yeah,
figuring it out. I did a lot of solo like sports. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Learned how to shoot guns. Like I could shoot guns real good, and you know.
They said you were a wicked hacky sacker, man.
Oh, I can play. Yeah.
Man. Still to this day?
Yeah, I can snap that water bottle right off the ground into my hand.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Did you find yourself also being like a real, like digesting a lot of art? Like, did you consume a lot of media? Did you go to a lot of movies, listen to them? I know music's real big in your life.
Yeah, huge. Like music was and still is like, it's my lifeline. Yeah, it's everything I do revolves around music for the most part. And I think I told you, but like, yeah, we used to make videos. I built a half pipe when I was young. Like I was always creating some kind of thing, contraption, or let's do this or do that. So I just wasn't directing it towards a canvas because I didn't have that outlet. It wasn't like I'm not a sports guy, and I didn't really realize until I was like 35, like, oh, well, yeah, I wouldn't be a sports guy because my mom never had it on. Mm-hmm. We never watched sports at my house. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of other stuff we didn't do either. So that shaped me into, I had to be creative. Like it was 3 girls and me. So I had to, just be creative to figure shit out.
That's how you became a ladies' man. That was another very, talk about being on the hot seat.
Ladies, that's all lies. That's all lies.
That's what a true player would say, my friend. Tell me about pop, man. Tell me about like your favorite music and favorite movies when you were a kid.
I don't think it was, we didn't watch as many movies as we did videos. Like we were like addicted to videos, It was like all about MTV videos and seeing the weirdness of it and stuff.
Did that, and obviously that shaped your musical preferences?
Well, yeah, so I think I told you during the interview in my studio, but when I was younger, I had all the Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, I had all of that kind of music. And my best childhood friend, Danny Green, love you, bro, he had all the, like Public Enemy, like Kool Moe D, LL Cool J, he had all that stuff. And all my music was foreign to him, and all his music was foreign to me for the most part. So we just like cross-pollinated, and then we both skated. Like we both rode BMX bikes, but then we both skated, and then we watched all kind of skate videos and stuff. Like everyone back then watched skating videos, kung fu videos.
Right. Yeah.
Like everyone wanted to be a kung fu skater, man. Get with it. But then as I got older, the real movies that started to inspire me were like the Godfather type movies, Scarface, things like that, because I realized that I didn't have, like, my mom didn't really have much power to do much. So I was like, well, where do I draw power from? And you draw it from the immediate sources around you. Dumbass older kids in the neighborhood that'll just tell you everything wrong about life, or movies that are probably better for you, but equally as wrong in a different direction. So I had 2 choices, in my opinion. Yeah, that's what I had.
Hence the trouble of mud balls and the federal crimes of mudballing
Exactly.
mail trucks.
Yeah.
There's a statute of limitations is expired, so we can
Think
talk
I'm
about
good.
those things now.
Plus, I washed them.
Yeah,
I paid my dues.
Need to make restitution. Some of the artists that you like, you know, I mean, because you got into art later on. When I say got into it, you started producing works on canvas later on.
Yes.
And was that inspired by particular artists, or was it like just?
No, I think I just reached a point where I was like, man, I really, because I did some pieces, and then like my friends were like, damn, man, that's crazy. Like that's, you know, they were like looking at it, and then I just kind of built it, just kind of snowballed, honestly. Like my friends started buying some of the pieces that I did, and I had stuff all over my house. And when people would come to my house, they would spend like hours literally like looking around at all the art. So I was like, you know. But then when the gallery found out, when I got my start in Wynwood in Miami, when I went down there, it was on. Like they took all my pieces, and like suddenly I was just like in a show, and then I just built off that.
Since what year was that? 2000.
I did my very first art show in 2007 in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah, but I actually got my start, I would say my real start in the art world in Wynwood, Miami, and I don't remember what year that was. I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah, but you're over a decade into it now.
Oh, yeah.
How'd you feel the first time, like your first show?
I didn't know what to expect. I was like, wow, you know. And then I didn't actually sell anything the night of the show. And I was kind of like, dang, for real. But then, like, yeah, because obviously.
Back to my day job.
Yeah. I mean, artists, you do need validation sometimes because otherwise you're just carrying on.
Right.
So about like 4 or 5 days later, they called me and were like, hey, we got a check for you. I was like, oh, sweet. So, and then I like traveling. The other art fair is a big art show that I like to do. They're real solid people. I travel with them quite a bit. I've exhibited 3 times with them, twice in Chicago, once in LA. And LA was real warm to me. The 3 days I was there, I crushed it. I did really well.
So then after the first art show, you got the nerves out a little bit. And you've had like, we talked about the other day, is it accurate? Like 6 bigger shows, like in major cities, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's accurate.
6 shows. And you have a 7th.
Coming up on the 14th of this month.
In
Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, right downtown, pretty much right next to the House of Blues.
Yeah, tell us about it. So because this will be released before then, you get some.
Yeah, so it's you can go to my Instagram for the day and the times and location, but it's right in downtown, right next to the House of Blues, and it was an invite only show for a bunch of there's like a fashion show, some live music, and something else. I don't remember exactly the lineup just because I've been traveling. But they're having this huge show, and I was invited to be there as a guest artist. So they're building some like cool walls that I can hang my art on and things like that. I'm pretty stoked. The guy that putting it together is really solid.
Was that piece you were working on the other night in the studio? He wheels this. I don't know how big it was, like 5 by 5. It was bigger than that. How big was that canvas? 5 by 5?
No, it was 3.5 by 8.
3.5 by 8.
43 by 8, actually.
He wheels it out on like a morgue rack, like a
It is
like a dolly, a morgue dolly.
It is. It's a morgue. It's like what they wheel a body around on.
Yeah,
and it like cranks up and down. Best 100 I ever spent. Forget about it.
Is that piece for the show?
I don't know if I'm taking that to the show or not. I think when I do it, because I was looking at it today, I was laying it out right before I came here, and I'm like, damn, this is going to be one of those pieces that I'm not going to want to sell. But ultimately, when people want stuff, I will sell it.
How many pieces are you bringing to Chicago?
All total, I think 18.
Nice. And then you're hitting the road after that, too. You're on the road. Give us some other dates where people can check you out.
I don't have any other shows lined up. My next show that I would like to be in, I'm waiting to be juried right now, is Los Angeles and Santa Monica at the Barker Hangar. That will be in April. That'll be a solid show. I love that show.
That's awesome. When do you find out? When do you find out what about the...
They'll probably let me know. I think the deadline was like November 25th where they were going to stop jurying. So I'll probably know like shortly thereafter.
Yeah, early December.
Yeah, I mean, I did well there. Like I sold a lot of art, so I would be shocked if they did not invite me to come back.
When you started selling your pieces, you were working. Tell us about that a little bit. I mean, because everyone's like, "Oh, you're an artist," but like you've had multiple jobs, operating heavy equipment. I mean, doing.
Oh yeah, everything. Well, I think that's also a product of being like a free spirit. Like you're gonna have a lot of jobs, you know. But yeah. So I mean, in a very short order, I guess I did everything from I paved roads. I worked at a pet store. I had a paper route. I worked at a grocery store. I worked at the landfill. I tore houses down with my cousin and all those guys. I mean, you name it. I think I've done it. I used to climb towers in Dallas, like cell phone towers when cell phones first came out. I would climb 150-foot monopoles. And then I worked for a lawyer in Las Vegas. I started a loan company. I was in customer service call centers for a while. I flipped houses. I developed real estate. I mean, I've done a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you were down in Florida living. You were talking earlier. Like, this guy gave it up to pursue this art life and dream. And you know, people are like, oh, I gave it all up, and the guy was living in a fucking trailer or something.
Right.
You were living in a place where you could see dolphins out your window when you're making breakfast.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I mean, that's.
And so did you start doing art full time in 2007, or was that just your first show?
No, I didn't start doing art full time until like, I'd say probably like 17, 18.
Okay.
Yeah, because in 17, I sold some art to some musicians and stuff.
Okay.
And then some other people caught on. And it was just one of those things where it was like, you know, I'm climbing the rungs, you know what I mean, of the ladder type thing.
I got a question about when you said you did your first show in 2007. At the time, I was in a band. And
I was bringing up this band, man.
I was a drummer in a band. Well, the reason I bring this up was that's right around when the recession started happening. And, you know, we had to start factoring in gas prices. And then a lot of bands would break up because, you know, out of a $150 show, you know, 75 went to the gas station or stuff like that. And people were losing jobs left and right. You would see another company go down. I just, you know, from an artist standpoint, while America at that time, that 08, 09, 2010 was losing jobs and everyone was tight on their money and stuff like that, you know, to sell your arts and to go in there, like, how was the selling process of not just with you, with everyone during that like recession time? Because that's when it seems like you started.
Well, when I went to Florida and I started developing the land, I really started doing that in 2003. The end of 2003, I started making investments there. And then Hurricane Charlie hit Punta Gorda in August of 2004. And I thought, oh my God, like I literally just lost every dollar I ever spent. Like who would want to come to a place where a hurricane just destroyed everything? Mm-hmm. And then the opposite happened. It just started to skyrocket. Like the stuff I paid $25,000 for sold for $100. The stuff I paid $100 for sold for $300. I mean, it was unreal. And so I basically rode that wave until like end of 6. But because I was fielding a lot of calls and I knew like every day how many calls would come into the office and stuff, I literally just could watch the calls start going down. And I was like, you know, I called my investors and stuff, my friends, and I'm like, hey, we need to probably liquidate all this stuff. Like the phones are at half. But the recession thankfully started happening first in Florida. And then it just like dominoed across the United States. So for the rest of the country, it happened in like 8 and 9. We were already done. Oh. We were already done suffering by then. So,
and that was good. You had vision ahead of time to go like, hey man, it's time to jump out a little bit.
Yeah, but then I didn't know what to do, and I got involved in promoting UFC events in Florida, like the cage fighting stuff. No, I mean I was promoting events. I wasn't in the ring. This is for kissing. This isn't for punching. So, but I lost all my money doing that. I built a ton of money up in the real estate business, and I gave it all back in the fight business. Well, not all of it, but I gave a good chunk back. Okay. I could tell you exactly how not to do the fight business. For real.
Do you remember Nicole Long at all?
I don't.
She was JFK girl. She was in between. You graduated in 92. I was 94. She's 93. She's in the fight game. I just wonder if you guys ever cross paths.
Never cross paths with her.
But she's having some success at it, so God bless her. What's up? Shout out to Nicole. I wish I could remember the company off the top of my head. I'd send it in. But you did bodybuilding. Your grandma was telling me, I got to interview Lou, Jimmy's grandma, and there was some. That was awesome because there was like some common links. Like she knew my grandparents, and they were like, "Oh yeah," And but she said you did bodybuilding for a while.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have. I think I told you we're gonna have Rocky Mitlow on probably next season. But he just won like a couple of tournaments or whatever for thing. But did you get in the tournaments and stuff?
Yeah, I went on stage and all that. So what happened was I was posing in the mirror one day in the gym all scrawny when I first moved to Vegas. And this massive German dude walked up to me and he in his thick accent and he's like, dude, you actually have a good build. You're just not very thick. You're not like a big guy. And he was like, "All my plan's $500 a month." And I said, "Whoa, bud, I'm working at Sprint making $9 an hour right now, guy. Like, I don't have time for that." So I did pay him though to do me a meal plan. And when he saw that I was putting some size on, he took me under his wing and he let me train with him for 2 years straight. And he was number 5 in the Mr. Olympia 2 years in a row. So he like knew what he was doing. Like he competed with like Arnold and them. So in my first show, I took the middleweight in Mr. Las Vegas 2001. So yeah, it was solid. Yeah, it was good. The main thing that I learned from bodybuilding, and it's not something that I would do now. You know, I'm not trying to get into it now. I mean, I just lift now to stay in shape. But the biggest thing that I learned was that if you put the work in, if you really put the work in on your diet and going to the gym on the days you're supposed to go, and you don't cheat on that, you follow through. Hard work really does pay off. I mean, I did really well on my very first show, and that was in Las Vegas. Like the competition was legit. So that I basically used that that floor plan for businesses and stuff. You know, I just said, well, I'm just going to do it the hard way because it lasts when you do it the hard way.
Right.
Yeah. So ever since then, that's how I built my businesses. Yeah.
Well, do you approach the art the same way?
You know, the art's real organic and it's real inspirational and like in spurts, I guess. You know, sometimes if I'm traveling or whatever, I can't do art. And sometimes I'm inspired when I'm traveling. And then when I get back to the studio, I'm not.
Yeah.
So
I don't mean the creation process because, again, that is, but, you know, that is very like you get in a flow state and you can rip many or one that's just amazing, you know, whether it's art or music or whatever it is. And then other times you're not. But I mean like the business aspect, the business side of art.
Oh, yeah. There's a business to art. Yes, absolutely. And that's what I've been studying for like the last couple of years really hard. Because I kept asking myself, why do dead artists make so much money? I mean, clearly they're dead. They're not making any more art, and I grasped that part of it.
They're not making any more money either because they're in the ground.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, they're not
someone else is, though.
Yeah. So they're not making any more art, and I get that part of it, but I think more importantly, after artists died, I think a lot of their friends told the stories like about their lives and stuff. And then as that came out, they became like, oh, well, they're so interesting. I want to own a piece of their mind. Mm-hmm. So what I'm doing is I'm living very vulnerable, 100%. Anyone can ask me anything. If I feel a certain way, that's how I cut my hair. If I paint my nails, I paint my nails. If I don't, I don't. Whatever. I think the truer you are to yourself like that, the more, you know, the more people want to be part of that. They want to own a piece of that energy. And there is a business to that. I mean, there's a million artists that are better than me. They're going to never sell a painting ever because they're good at marketing their art and bad at marketing themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's really interesting because it goes back to that. You know, I was asking you the other day. You had that big piece, the 40, the one on the morgue rack, and it was just a raw canvas. I sit in. I don't really fancy myself a musician, but I play guitar, and I don't fancy myself an artist, a painter, but I paint and do, you know. So I always like people's processes because if it can make my limited skill set a little bit better, or if I can, you know, glean something from somebody, and it's just the process is interesting. So I was asking Jim the other day, how do you, you know, he had this huge canvas. I said, are you going to like prime it? Or are you going to, he said, no, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. And he was kind of going through his process because I don't want to give any trade secrets or whatever. And I know a lot of guys like will put a prime on it or a gesso or whatever. And he said, no, I'm not really going to do that. And it goes back to that raw thing. In your art, I was trying to put it in a way that I could explain it. Your art and the messaging of the art, and sometimes not even because your art's words and pictures. A lot of times people are like, oh, that like we have this hanging, there's no words in it. Like, oh. you know, it's art. But yours is a lot of times words and pictures. The Chrissy Teigen piece, obviously no words, but he has a really cool piece that's in the background. You can find it on our Facebook page. And it's a camera. I'm sorry, it's a gun and a camera. And it says, one of these will shoot me to death. And it was just so clever. And you start to think about that. And this is why I think your art is very interesting to people. It's raw because it's like an exposed nerve. And people, it votes a reaction. And a piece of your art is in the room. And it may not be, and art's subjective, right? Someone could look at it. This is what I was saying earlier where I lost my train of thought. You had said, and you made a piece, which was fucking great. And someone had said, and this is the thing all artists, you know, get, most, maybe not all. My kid could do that. And you made a piece of, you had it on a canvas, you spray painted something. I know your kid could do this, but he didn't. And you just made a box and it said art in the box within the confines of the canvas. And I was like, man, that's awesome because that's every artist. Again, maybe not every artist. I don't know if Da Vinci ever felt that way or whatever,
Right.
but feels that way a lot of times. And yours is real raw, like an exposed nerve. It evokes an emotion. And I don't think you can walk past a piece like that and not have a conversation. And that's where I think you're making this connection, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm trying, man. I'm really trying.
Yeah. Well,
because I make the art I want to see, not the art I want to sell.
Nice. Right.
You know? I mean, I'm glad that people buy it, and I'm so flattered when they do, but I just make the art that I want to see on the wall, like look at it and remind me that's what's going on out there. That's really what's going on.
Yeah. It's a real conversation piece, like a real starter, a conversation starter. And a lot of it, I go back to like the kind of motifs. You know, you grew up Catholic. I got to interview, obviously, your grandma and your sister was there. And a lot of similarities between my background. I was actually meeting the priest today over at St. Mary's. He's a priest from Slovakia. I haven't been to church in a long time. I was trying to, you know, hey, how's it going, Father?
How long's it been since your last confession, my son?
Yeah. I'm glad you didn't ask that because I couldn't even tell you. But there's a religious motif as well. Are there other motifs that come into your art that are from your upbringing that aren't so overt? You know, the religious ones are overt because it's like Mary and Jesus or, you know, whatever.
Right. Yeah, and I just want to say I don't do art on religious pieces because I have, like, I'm trying to, like, badmouth God or anything or badmouth anyone's whatever. I'm just doing it because people just blindly follow, like, whatever. Like, I've read the Bible a couple times, okay, which is to say I can read. And every time they mention Jesus, they always mention him with hair like wool. But every time you see a picture, he looks like Skinner. It's just the way that it is. So people are literally looking at an image that isn't even what they're supposed to be looking at and bowing down to it. Like, that's the golden calf all over again, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but whatever. I mean, people have to do whatever they feel, you know, whatever they feel, I guess, is their way, you know. But by virtue of there being so many religions, that means clearly they're all wrong.
Well, and Catholicism is just the religion that you were kind of plugged into because of your background and your family's background or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're probably drawn to that subconsciously or consciously in making commentary of the art. Yeah, obviously you're not anti-God or
No.
You know,
There has to be intelligent design out there for the way it all works.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's something out there for sure.
But what are some of those other motifs like religion that weren't, you know, that are you wouldn't see overtly in your art that you see?
Probably a lot of McDonald's. I like
McDonald's hamburgers and fries and stuff.
Well, just like McDonald's, like their logo,
Okay.
their boldness of everywhere. So I guess my motif would be a corporation.
Okay.
Corporation motifs are like kind of always like in the background of my art for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. The stuff that really runs our country.
Yeah. Branded logos. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like, real expensive logos don't spend money for you to go out and buy their stuff. They spend money so you know when a rich person walks by with it.
That's interesting. Right. Gucci. Well, you had that one piece.
Yeah.
What was it?
I covered a trash dumpster with Gucci logo, and I said, but it's Gucci.
But
Does
it's
it make
trash.
it? Yeah,
Yeah,
but does
love
it make it any better dumpster or, you know?
One of my favorite pieces that I saw in your studio, I made mention of it too, and it was the way you designed it after you explained it was really cool. I'm referring it in my head to the Hobie piece because it's got a lot of sailboats. It's like all these Hobie.
Yeah.
And I think you called it Key West,
Miami.
Miami. I'm sorry, that's right. I knew it was a Florida thing. It's kind of a removal in a sense. It's almost like the odd man out. Like there's a couple pieces in there that are like the odd man out. Mm-hmm. And when I brought up like, Jimmy's like, man, I rage sometimes, and sometimes I think that comes out in the expressiveness of your art. The softer side, are there pieces that are in you that you feel you want to do that's in the softer side of things? You're just not in that mode right now? I'm just curious.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm working on one right now that I wouldn't say is very political. It's just more a play on love and it's more play of, like on love and relationships and stuff. I mean, that's definitely like an overtone in my artwork. A lot of guns, a lot of hearts, a lot of love, hate, I think the like tumultuous like relationships definitely like come out in my artwork for sure. But as an artist and a Gemini and all that, it's like I'm like a tornado, bro.
Gemini, really, you split down the middle.
I do. People always say, "Do you have two faces?" I always go, "Yeah, business and fun."
You're a kung fu skater and an accidental artist.
That's right.
I say accidental because you kind of fell into it, man. It's kind of cool.
Wasn't something I would have planned.
Do you pick up works in your travels? You're
Always.
south, you're Punta Gorda, you're Vegas. Now you're back in Ohio. Are there pieces now that you're back in Ohio? Are there pieces that you're creating now that are like has Ohio bled over into the pieces now? Or are you still like
No. I specifically brought my studio back here from Florida because, honestly, the bleakness of it. It's really bleak here. I mean, the summertime is amazing, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on, 3/4 of the year it's pretty bleak here.
Yeah.
So I get really inspired about that because Warren, to me, is kind of the epicenter of everything that I talk about. If you simmer all my art down and all the hypocrisy, we're ground zero for it. Health versus opioid crisis, poverty versus free ride, or the other way around. Some people really want to work and can't even get a job. You know what I mean? So like this town is just the epicenter of hypocrisy, if you ask me. I mean, I don't think the administration is doing necessarily a bad job or anything like that. It's not necessarily like that. It's just I don't see a lot of how can I say it? I don't see a lot of development here because you really can't. I mean, what can you really do? And I always refer to Warren as a girl that was born really pretty because they had steel. They didn't have to market themselves. Mm-hmm. They had a commodity that was just given to them. So, now that you're older and you're not as pretty, how do you remarket yourself? And that's where they're stuck, I think. As an outsider who flies in and out of this town once a month, twice, 3 times a month, whatever, that's what I see. I see a beautiful small town with so much potential, but how do you get the growth here? Without a tax base, you can't really do much.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do my part. I love Warren. I think it made me who I am. I know it made me who I am. And there's a lot of great people here who have a lot of great ideas. So hopefully some of that can start to flourish,
Do you see, as you've been in and out of town for the past couple decades, live in different places, are you encouraged by the development that you've seen in the downtown areas? Because really in the downtown areas, probably the only thing that has kind of started to flourish. The neighborhoods we're knocking houses down. People are, bailing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the downtown growth has been really good. And I'm glad to see that Warren has so many options downtown. Like, it's a real, it's becoming like a little city. If you leave Warren and you go west and you drive from here to Colorado, you're going to go through 15 other towns that look very similar, that are thriving because there's actually residents there. There's people living there, wanting to live there. But you have to have certain things that people want. I mean, we're a society that's accustomed to everything being the same on every corner. Every corner should have a Starbucks and a Target and a Dunkin' Donuts and you know what I mean? We want that look. That's what's happening. So without that right around here in the downtown area, it's going to be kind of tough. You do need a little bit of a bigger chain anchor here.
Yeah, people do talk about that a lot.
For sure.
Yeah, but there's a lot of little outlier businesses that are. It's like people have to they're inventing themselves or reinventing themselves to kind of be something different that's on the offshoot of a branded logo, like you mentioned Target or Starbucks. Because people used to say a long time, oh man, if we could get a Starbucks down here. Well, we don't have a Starbucks. We got Mocha House, and then we got Nova, which is real, a hip little joint. But
No,
talking
those-
about the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, Mocha's definitely one of my most favorite places. Like, yeah,
You brought the coffee up today,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Yeah.
they're awesome over there. Bill and Nick are my buddies. But it would take a Apple store in downtown Warren for everyone from Boardman to know that Nova Coffee and Mocha House exist.
Yep.
We need more things that are we need more mainstream things. That's
Yeah.
all. You know what I mean? You have to have that. You have to have that draw.
You said the perfect word, anchor, like a bigger anchor store.
You got to have it.
I want to go back real quick because I had this note, and we talked about this the other day in the interview. You'd mentioned Bleak, and a lot of artists come out of, again, we talk about the struggle or things being, gritty or rougher or raw. And we took a break the other night, and we were standing outside talking to your neighbor. I talked to your neighbor. I learned a word the other day. It's not cane corso for you dog lovers out there. It's cane corso. And the guy was telling me about different stuff, dogs and whatnot. And we were listening, and you have a band that lives a couple doors down. They were practicing, and they were real good, man. And I grew up in that neighborhood where we were at. And I thought, man, isn't this kind of like a comeback to terms in a way? Because we were across the street, catty corner, where where I was born. And here's this super dope artist, and one door down is this dude talking about like dogs, and I mean that guy knew everything about dogs, and it was super cool. And then here's these musicians, man, and they were practicing, and they were good, man.
They're really good.
Yeah. Did you find out what their name was?
Dude, and what's crazy is I walked down there and talked to him for like 30 minutes last night. I never asked them their name.
Oh, we got to find out. We got to find out where they're playing and where they're at.
Okay, I do know where they play sometimes, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they've had gigs at Up a Creek.
Okay.
And they've also had gigs they play at the Beach Bar a lot.
Oh, out in Champion.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
But they're really good. They're like a 4-piece or something. Solid, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were real dope. What kind of music do you listen to when you're not listening to those guys when you're painting? What's your thing?
I listen to a lot of like I like Future and Thugger. I like Run the Jewels a lot. They're a lot, Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Old Public Enemy. I like the Old Public Enemy so much. And then like as far as like alternative stuff that I paint to, a lot of Silver Sun pickups. I think I told you.
Yeah.
Fantagram, Metric, Odessa, Chili Peppers. I mean, like I kind of have a,
wide, eclectic. I don't hear any country in there. You get down on any country?
I don't know any country songs, man. I don't know one. Like
I didn't know any either, except the old school, like Grand Ole Opry stuff, until I met my wife, and she was like, I like country. And for me, I'm not knocking country for fans out there, but I was like, this shit's the most non-intellectual, pedestrian, like, I'm drinking beer and had a pickup truck, and my dog got killed, all that. My got heartbroken, whatever. But I started getting into it, man. And I got to say, like, there's some country acts that I kind of dig now. Yeah.
I'm sure there's good country out there. I would have to date a country girl to understand country music, and they're not going to date Old City. I can tell you that right now.
You never know, man. Sometimes those opposites attract. You know who you might dig? You might dig Shooter Jennings. Because we were playing, what'd you play? You were playing the other night, Skinnerd. You mentioned about, Jesus looking like Skinner. That's great. But you're playing Skinner, and Shooter Jennings is Waylon Jennings' son.
Okay.
And he's got some real. If I have, I'll send you some stuff. I have some stuff I ripped that's pretty cool. I bought. When I say ripped, that don't mean stole. I downloaded it off the CD.
Right.
I went to look at cars the other day, and they don't even sell cars. New cars don't have CD players anymore.
No.
I brought all these CDs. We just recently moved. I put all my CDs, and I probably have like legit 400 or 500. Buried. My wife's like, "What are you doing with these?" And I said, "Well, I don't want to give them up." And then when I buy music, I don't buy it on iTunes. I go to the record store. I still have to have the tangible. Like I want to open it up, read the liner notes, look at the artwork.
Right.
Shit like that. It's cool. Like just in saying that. I see a lot of your art as cover art, you know, or inside
yeah.
art for musicians. You know, I think that would be real cool.
Yeah, I asked my buddy Killer Mike. He just I was texting him last night. I didn't ask him last night, but I was texting with him last night. I asked him if I could make their next album cover for Run the Jewels 4. So we'll see what happens.
Man, dude, that would be.
Man, to make an album cover for your favorite rappers, that's like, I'll be trying not to fan the fuck out.
I'm a star fucker. Again, Mom, that's a term. I'm not saying that word, but star fucker. Awesome. My mom gives me shit sometimes. She's like, "Oh, you're on the air. You have to, you know, you're representing your brand and your business." I said, "Yeah, but you got to be real too. You got to be real too."
Yeah.
Music. I'm going through my notes because there was like importance. Oh, yeah, this is perfect. There's all stuff I want to ask Jim while we're here, and of course, you know, we're running out of time. But you had mentioned coming back, these shows that you're doing. You're going to be on the road. One more time for the listeners. Give us the rundown. You're going to be on the road in Chicago on the.
My show is the actual night of the 14th. It's a fashion show, and they're having live music, and obviously there's a full bar and everything. But that's the night of the 14th, and then I'll be in Puerto Rico the 19th through the 26th, looking for a gallery to open there. I'm going to look at some buildings, and it looks like I'll be making that home for a while. We'll see.
Not a bad place.
No, sir.
San Juan?
I like San Juan. I like Dorado as far as the homes go. I like Dorado the best. It's probably 30 minutes west of San Juan.
Cool. Big art scene there?
Yeah, there is actually a very solid art scene. Yeah. My art would be very different there. You know, I don't know how they would embrace it or not, but I don't really worry about that. I mean, you know, Michael Jackson couldn't rap and Little Weezy can't sing.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. Just do what you do.
Do what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then what's cool is like now in today's world with technology, you don't have to be like one place. You can be multiple places. I was real surprised to see the DR had a real big art. Of course, you know, a lot of that's on the beach and stuff. And
for sure.
They had there was and I actually bought some stuff and brought back for a buddy of mine. But I was like real surprised. Like, man, the DR's got like a dope little scene, you know? Mm-hmm. It was real cool. Jamaica had some cool shit too, but I didn't really get into like the heart of Jamaica. We were in like Ocho, and I didn't really get into. Speaking of other places, though, when you come back to Warren, I asked you this the other day. I think it was maybe the wrap up. So it's a good wrap up today. Gonna have a show in Warren. We talked maybe about Warren Homecoming 2020 that weekend. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
I definitely want to have a show in Warren. I meant to do it this year, but just with my schedule, it just didn't work out. You know, I really wanted to do it the right way. I went and talked to Tag. They were completely on board to drop, you know, an advertisement to their list for me. Like, they were real supportive, which I found to be nice. And, you know, I tried even actually doing a show in there once or twice, but they're pretty booked out. They're like a year out or something, year and a half, which is not uncommon. I mean, that's just kind of the way it is, yeah.
They're real conservative, too. You know, I'm not knocking Tag. They'll be, when, you know, we start talking with other artists and stuff, like there's a Tag thing and a fact thing, and then there's like guys that are just doing it on their own.
Yeah, I'll just try to do my own thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if they want to drop to their email list, I would love for other people to check out some other art and stuff. But
and what's cool about you too, I found this out, is you support other artists, which is a big thing for me, because people, I know we talk, you don't have to, you know, mention any names or whatever, but I know when you came back, you met a guy who's a prominent artist here, and he kind of like rubbed you the wrong way. But then in turn, I know you got some great photos from Jim Shudick, who runs the Fine Arts Council down there.
Yeah. Those will be in my mansion in Puerto Rico.
Yeah. That was super cool.
Yeah,
I like that you're, you know, because it's important, man, to support other people.
No, for sure. I mean, I can't like. There's a lot of art if I see it, maybe I don't like it, but I'm certainly not going to knock the guy or whatever. And if I can help somebody, see, here's the thing. I don't have a competition mindset, because the only two things I want are health and fame. And those two things are in abundance. The only time you should have a competition mindset is when the end result is in limited supply. So I'll help anybody. I don't care.
That's some deep shit right there. You guys dwell on that, prodders. Veg on that. Digest that a little bit. Because we are here with, and I want to thank our guest. Brandon dipped out early. He had to get to his baby girl. Oh, that's a question I wanted to ask you because your grandma, the one last. We get time for one more?
For sure.
Maybe it wasn't your grandma. Well, your grandma was encouraging it, obviously, but I think it was Dickie Thomas. And he had said during the interview. So I interviewed all these guys with Jim again, but here's another cool thing. Jim actually went out of the studio space to allow people to speak freely, which I thought was such a cool thing because it was cold as shit, number one. So he's like hanging out in the back outside. And, people are talking, and he had said, I think it was Dick Thomas, or it might have been, who else's dad did you have? You had,
my buddy Dan Green, Hanky Green.
Oh, Hank Green came in. That's right.
Yeah.
I think it was, I don't remember who it was, but one of them had said, and they were encouraged by this. They were like, oh man, Jimmy was talking about maybe settling down, and we talked about that. And you'd say, well, I got to find the right one, and you get some prospects. And I was asking you questions because I'm an inquisitive guy. And I was I think I might have told you about, just kind of my experience, but whatever. Are kids something you see? Is that something, I know probably not now because your lifestyle, but is that?
Yeah, I would love to have a kid or two for sure. But it would have to, I've always had this dream about the way that it would be. And I think it's slowly formulating. Kids aren't a necessity. They're not a must-have.
Sure.
But I would like to. I think it'd be cool, but if that's not my calling, then it's not my calling. I learned not to force stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, as an artist, you gotta, at least for me, I have to be real free-flowing. Everything has to be organic. I'll never be the guy that will, date someone for 5 years, ask them to marry me. That is not how it will happen for me. I'll just meet somebody and be like, oh yeah, I'm marrying you. Let's do it. Yeah, I already know, you know what I mean? But I'm good with that because I'm not indecisive and I'm real keen about what I attract. Law of attraction's for real, and I only studied the outside for so long, but now I study about what I want on the inside from a girl. So I think that's definitely formulating in my life for sure.
I think what was awesome is we talked with Chuck Eggleston, who's Jim's, Chuck and Ed, Jim's childhood buddies, and Chuck actually brought his daughter Kennedy, and I loved hearing her talk about, and this is the reason that this question is pertinent, is she was like, because she's an artist too, and you guys were vibing. And you guys were like,
she's my buddy, man.
Yeah.
What's up, Kennedy? Yeah, she's my buddy.
And I thought to myself, in thinking about that conversation later, I'm like, and thinking about whether it was Dick or Hank who brought it up, I'm like, man, you know what? Because I always say, there's people who should not be parents. Don't be.
Yeah.
Not everybody has to be a parent. Has to procreate. Some people shouldn't be parents. Be able to take care of yourself first. You can't take care of yourself. Don't have a kid. I'm like, man, this is a dude you'd be a great dad. This is a dude who'd be a great dad because of that.
Yeah.
You got that vibe, with, I don't want to say you have a childlike way, but you're on that level. I'm the same. I notice it because I'm on the same way sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I would say I probably felt the most in my zone personally, not with my art and stuff, but just personally, when I dated girls who did have kids and I was able to be part of their lives and just, teach them some stuff or whatever. You give back. When you're teaching, it kind of, you're passing it down. You're paying it forward, however you want to look at it, whatever.
Like Brandon was talking about earlier.
Yeah, it's really important. And raising smart children is really important to me.
Amen.
That's why I never complain about when I got to pay tax for school or this or that. I don't even have any kids, but I'm not interested in all that. If you don't want our future to be smart, then you're really a dumbass. Right. For real.
Right.
That's just simple math.
Well, it's been great talking with you today. You inspire. I know people that listen to this will feel inspired and get some intel and insight into your life, and certainly want to hopefully go out and look at his art. He's on Instagram, Massacci Art. He's on Facebook under Jimmy Vegas, where the art is as well, or hypocrisyart.com.
Yeah, my Instagram's probably the best way to find me. And that's Massacci art.
MassacciArt.com. There may be a space, you mentioned Tag, which I think is cool that you went to talk to them. They do art classes too. That'd be a great outlet for you to show people. We had Derek Tolles on a while back, and Derek's one of these guys that exposes kids, underprivileged kids to whatever it is, things that they normally, and it's usually art or sports related. Oh, wow, yeah, there's a CEO that actually runs the company. I don't have to be the athlete.
Right.
I can be the guy that does X, Y, Z. And I think your message in exposing young people to that and your way is a way to really inspire. And you could, you got a lot to give. You got a lot to give.
Oh man, a lot. I'm ready too. Like if people come by the studio, I'm saying, hey Ben, bring your kids here, let them paint. Like I don't care. What I really wanted to do was buy the fire station on West Market Street. That's where I really wanted my office to be, because I could live upstairs and I could have the studio downstairs. Like I went over there and met with the guy and everything, and he just uses it as a storage unit. But in a perfect world, I would buy that building tomorrow. If he would sell it, I'd buy it tomorrow. It'd be done.
After Puerto Rico, you might be able to, man.
Well, I don't know what he's doing. I'm ready to buy it now, but he doesn't want to sell it. That's the problem. So, he doesn't have a horse that I can put in his bed, so it is what it is.
Hey, really appreciate you coming by today, spending some time with us, giving us your insight, and giving us your time, because I know it's very valuable and short. Safe travels on your journey for the next couple months. I know I'll check you out when you get back in town. Until then, check them out at Massacci Art on Instagram. Again, hypocrisyart.com. If you can't spell Massacci, he just spelled it for you. Until then, brother, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me so much, man. I'm very, very flattered. Thank you.
You are welcome. And prodders out there, until the next time, stay electrified, and we'll catch you in episode 26. So that's a wrap. Appreciate you guys listening. I know it's been a while. I welcome you back to the show, and I hope you really enjoyed that episode with Jimmy Massacci, Jimmy Vegas, Massacci Art. Really interesting guy and really cool show. Obviously, or cool art. Hopefully, it was a cool show. And you guys will be able to check some of that stuff out on our Facebook page, which if you haven't liked yet, the podcast on Facebook, so Facebook.com/The Prodcast, or check us out on theprodcast.net. I know we didn't say that during the show, but we always want to make sure people are reaching out and subscribing. Every major podcast app that's out there, Spotify, TuneIn, iTunes, all that good stuff. This show today was brought to you from Two Ticks and the Dog Productions and by MDI Studios. Visit mdistudios.com. Brandon had to dip out early, so I wanted to sign off for both of us, but also thank our sponsors today, which of course were Modern Methods Brewery. And of course, if you are interested in improving your mental endurance and mental acuity, improving your concentration and memory retention, increasing your physical and mental energy, giving you a positive mood, increasing your brain's resilience to stress without stimulants like taurine and caffeine, although they have a caffeinated version, give yourself a real treat and check out biohacktomorrow.com. At biohacktomorrow.com, you can check out some really cool activators and biohacking, bioengineering material. There's some skincare products. There's products for your pet. And there is also an amazing drink that really is a great intro that we use all the time. I drank one before the show today, and it's called Axio. And check that out at biohacktomorrow.com. You can sign up. You can order online there. The best bet really is to get the subscription order and have it shipped to you. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff on that site that you can, different products that you can check out and find out more about biohacking, bioengineering for neuro enhancement and many, many other things. Reduce your oxidative stress, slow the aging process down. Check it out. Check it out. And lastly, I want to throw a shout out to one of our previous guests. He has the Youngstown Comic Con. He also has All American Comics in Boardman and Warren, Ohio. He's downtown on the square with us. Greg Bartholomew, he is having the Youngstown Comic and Toy Expo on December 14th. It's a Toy Ohio toy show, and Youngstown Comic Con presents the Youngstown Comic and Toy Expo. It is from 10 a.m. in the morning until 4 p.m. at the Metroplex Expo Center, which is in Girard, Ohio. It's a 1620 Motor Inn Drive, and admission's only $5, and they're going to have some of the coolest toys and comics around. I talked to him today. He already has 100 vendors that are going to be there. So if you're into comics and in particular comic toys, which I am, and I've made the mistake of getting my son into, because now, he wants to get, we collect 12-inch Marvel figures and other DC and whatnot, but the 12-inch guys, and the ones that are real hard to find have risen in price. And so I made not a mistake, but I got him a couple ones that are a little rarer, like the Silver Surfer and some Tony Stark characters that are not in gear. And there's Doctor Doom, which is one of my favorites from the Fantastic Four. And that dude my son now is like, Dad, are we getting Doctor Doom? I'm like, dude, Doctor Doom's like, entry now is like $75. It's kind of hard to spend $75, and the other ones are $150 on a toy that he's just gonna beat up. And I don't want to keep them in the plastic. It's like 40-year-old virgin. They're all hermetically sealed in these boxes. Man, these toys are meant to play with. So there'll be a ton of that stuff at the Youngstown Comic and Toy Expo. Once again, December 14th at the Metroplex Expo Center in Girard, Ohio. That's brought to you by Toy Ohio Toy Show and Youngstown Comic Con, who is the one and only Greg Bartholomew at All American Cards and Comics, both in Boardman, Ohio and Warren, Ohio, on the square of West Market Street. And if you go there and get some comics, make sure you check out our guy Adam Keck over at Modern Methods Brewery, or any of the great new restaurants, bars, and shops on the square. You can even pop in and see Brandon at MDI Studios. He's actually right next to Beautiful World. Clint and Mary, they've got some amazing smoothies. Peanut butter and jelly smoothie. I'll leave you with that. Hopefully you're hungry. You can come down to Warren and get one. Until the next time, appreciate you. Check out biohacktomorrow.com. Check out the Youngstown Comic and Toy Expo, December 14th. And make sure you check out Jimmy Massacci on his websites, which you've already listed. And it's all about art, man. So until the next time, thank you so much for listening. Please like, listen, and subscribe. Share on social media. And we'll check you out the next time. In the meantime, stay electrified and keep on prodding.